don't think our intro wants to play this morning.
Okay.
It's this computer. Let's try one more time. That's all right. Y'all know who we are. Welcome to Upzone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your two hosts. I am Tisha S. Waddell, former city council representative for the 3rd District of the city of Fayetteville, and I am seated with Mr. Elmer Floyd, former House representative for the 43rd District in the state of North Carolina. Mr. Floyd, how goes all today, sir?
So far, so good. So good so far. My creditors have given me at least 2 hours before they called me.
They gave you some. They gave you some leeway.
2 hours.
I know that's right,
I just
Mr.
got.
Floyd. You
I'm
know you
reading the
don't owe
text.
nobody.
I'm reading the text now. I
What
just
the
read
text
it.
say?
You have
What
a
the
two
text
hour
say?
delay.
Speaking of delays, I do want everybody to know that I am working from a different device today. It is a little bit slower, and there is a little bit of lag time. So if you notice that, bear with us and love us in it because of, in spite of, and not because of. Mr. Floyd, it is June. We're in the month of June.
Yes.
What announcements do you have for us, sir?
Well, one, it's Juneteenth month, a week. There's a lot of activities that is taking place in the city.
Now,
It's
Mr. We usually have the city has been hosting a Juneteenth celebration for a number of years, for a few years now. Have you heard of anything going on at the city's
Well, that's going to be at
level?
Festivity Park. I think it's this coming Saturday or next Saturday. But you can view that through Fayetteville Observer.
Okay.
They can give you the dates and times of the different places that's going to be involved into the activity. It's a lot of activities that's taking place as it relates to Juneteenth.
Okay.
So just be prepared to attend a lot of it. It's a lot of it. There, Spring Lake is having some. Hope Mill is having some. So just be aware and attend those things that you can. And also, this is Pride Month there, and you can view that information through City View with the various activities that's taking place during Pride Month. And
I want to
then,
remind everybody while we're talking about Pride Month. Pride Month is a celebration of the LGBTQ community. I want to remind everybody that it is also okay for you to celebrate being heterosexual. And so while the homosexual community and the LGBTQ community is celebrating Pride, I would like to say that I take great pleasure in being a heterosexual, and I think that we should celebrate that too. And I read an article recently, Mr. Floyd, about a bar owner who said that he was going to be celebrating this month heterosexual pride. And I don't know if he used the term pride, but he has seen his business exponentially increase as a result of this. So I want to tell other people out there, it's okay to be glad to be heterosexual too. And so I don't want us to take that off the table as we move forward and as people are celebrating Pride Month. I want to remind the LGBTQ community of this and everybody else who celebrates Pride Month. I want to remind you guys that there's a scripture that says, and I know a lot of people don't believe in God, but there are a lot of people in the LGBTQ community who do profess to have a belief in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. His word does remind us that pride comes before the fall. So every time we come into June, Mr. Floyd, I'm always reminded of that as there's this whole month to celebrate pride, that pride comes before the fall. And I just want to say maybe y'all might want to rename this celebratory month. But go ahead, Floyd. What else we got going on this
and the other is the Martin Luther King Scholarship Gala, which is going to be at the Metropolitan Room on June the 29th at 5 o'clock.
month? Is that open to the public, Mr. Floyd?
Yes, from 5 to 7. And they can, I think it's Maria Monroe who is selling the tickets, or uh, Mr. Ford, who is the director of the Martin Luther King program slash project. And the other is that the Vets Unlimited is having their Western extravaganza at the, I think it's the Shriners Club on Cannon Road. So
Okay.
that's what's coming Saturday. I think it started at 9 to 12 or somewhere in the neighborhood.
Mr. Floyd, let me ask you a question. With all of this that's going on in our community, all of these celebrations, where again did you say that people can go to find this information? Because you
Well,
come every week and give this, but you got to be getting it from somewhere. So, what's the central point aside from our podcast that people can find this information?
well, you have to be able to just be knowledgeable through your ability to look at the various resources that that come to you, and individuals that share the information with you. It's just not one place that you can
Not one
see.
stop shopping.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So you're going to have to do a little digging. Often you can find information in Up and Coming Weekly. You can find information in City View. You can find information on the Fayetteville Observer site. Sometimes if it's a city sponsored event, you can find information on the city's website.
yeah.
But you do have to go to multiple platforms in order to be able to find this information. Mr.
Very,
Floyd,
yes.
I'm loving the sunshine. Are you enjoying the warmth?
Well, Tish, it really doesn't matter. I got to go out, so I don't even complain. I've seen some good days and I've seen some bad days, but I won't complain. I got to go out, so I
Yeah.
don't even think about it.
And we're very fortunate, as we are gearing up for some of the hottest months of the year in North Carolina, those of us who have shelter, who have access to cool water, who have access to HVAC systems that work, we're very fortunate. And I want to remind our listeners that there are often programs throughout our community that assist people who are not as fortunate in staying cool. So there's usually a box fan collection. It usually takes place over at WFNC. I know that Goldie was a big spearheader of that initiative. I don't know who that will fall on as he's transitioning into retirement. But I most certainly want our community to be thinking about people who don't have access to the amenities and the luxuries that we do to stay cool, just like we do when it's cold outside, and we're trying to make sure that people stay warm because there are people who don't have those accesses. Mr. Floyd, there was something else I wanted to ask you about these announcements, and it has since escaped my mind. So let's just move into the program, and if there's anything else that pops up, if you will permit me the luxury of being able to go back and ask. I know what it was. We've been celebrating graduates, so we've gotten through graduation season. And now parents are gearing up to send their children off to college. I know that you have a college graduate, which lets me know that you've been through this process before. Mr. Floyd, do you have any words of wisdom as our parents are preparing to send their kids off?
Well, Tish, if I may, you know, in some graduation, uh, they are split families. And during this particular point in time, Tish, you ought to put aside your split family differences and allow the family member to participate in the graduation.
Yeah,
There's no need, what I'm saying to you, there's no point in you getting all the tickets and one of the family members just want one ticket
one
to
ticket.
see his or her child
Yeah,
graduate.
yeah,
You can leave the ticket at McDonald's,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
to allow the mother or father to
To
see
come see their child graduate.
graduate. And so,
And
I
stop being
just,
petty. Stop being petty on that. Well, he wasn't here for this, or she didn't do any of that. And so why should they? They should be there because believe it or not, your child probably wants to see them there.
yes,
And they want to see their child. I agree with you, Mr. Floyd, because it made
sir.
my daughter's day to see her dad walk up to her after graduation because they want those kids are proud of themselves.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, but just to hold the ticket, I mean, you know, it's a time of celebration. And now it's a time now, Tish, that your daughter must now begin to prepare herself, not for Cumberland County, not the state of North Carolina, but for the global community.
For the global community. That is a great piece of advice that we need to understand that it is now time for our sons and daughters to prepare themselves for the global community.
And it's a
That is
different
great.
community. And it's a different community out there, Tish.
That is really great, Mr. Floyd. It definitely is a different community out there. We've got a lot of people coming into our community. It is election time. And we recently had, according to what I'm hearing, we recently had a visit from Attorney General Josh Stein, who is also a gubernatorial candidate. Do you know anything about that visit?
Well, you know, he went to the same place that he normally goes when he comes to Fayetteville, and that is to an attorney house there. But I think that
You
he,
are so you always make me be the name dropper. He went to Jonathan Charleston's house, is what you're saying.
yes, yes, I mean, but he needs to broaden his base if he wants to reach the community as a whole.
But why, Mr. Floyd, when Jonathan Charleston's name is the name that we keep hearing involved in all of the big things? Why should he broaden his base? Jonathan Charleston's the pivot point for all things city of Fayetteville. Why should he have to broaden his
What
reach?
he as a politician, you know, and I say this to Charles Evans all the time. I said, Charles, please remember, everybody don't like you, just like everybody don't like Elmer Floyd.
Charles said he
So,
learned that lesson when he ran for mayor.
yeah, you see,
He
so
said I learned.
and
Which
we
is
say
it's
that,
crazy because we all thought, at least I thought Charles was gonna have a good shot, but yeah,
but you know, again, we play you know, my community on my side of the fence play totally blind politics. You know,
like this, Mr. Floyd.
yeah, we are locked into a party. It doesn't make any difference. So, but it's back to the point. But you need to broaden your base because right now, this attorney is having some. It's going to address two issues as it relates to rezoning, and that's going to have an adverse effect there, and that's in the Dust Bowl and also out there on Cedar Creek Road. So
Yeah.
you need to broaden your base other than just the base of the attorneys.
But I think what would give me pause as a citizen in this community is, and I know that the legal system, people kind of connect and work together, and there are relationships that are built just like in any other industry. It would certainly give me pause if I had to face an attorney who was one of the largest donors and fundraisers in our community for the Attorney General of the state of North Carolina. Because
But
it would
see,
almost make me feel
let me
like the
stop you
chips
right
were
there, please. Now
back
you
to
have to
me.
look at the fact that this attorney gives contribution to ARA and it
Oh,
gives
for sure.
contribution to
For
D.
sure.
Okay, and so you you know, how can you actually see a sense of Stein being a strong supporter of this person when this person would also give money to ARA?
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
understand what I mean.
This just popped in my head, Mr. Floyd, and I want to do it before I forget. And I hope that he is not offended by this or upset by this. But I want to give a shout out to Dr. Wayne Riggins. Dr. Wayne Riggins is one of the people in this community who has, to me, consistently remained concerned about our community. And the reason I want to give him this shout out is because I was thinking in my head, I had this thought, well, most people that amass wealth tend to lean a little bit more right than left. But I think that Dr. Riggins, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that he is a Democrat, but I believe that he is a Democrat who is truly putting his money where his mouth is and is concerned about the people in this community and fighting for the justice of the people of this community. And I want to say to other Democrats who have wealth, he is an example, in my estimation, of what it looks like to put your money where your mouth is. Why are you smiling?
I read my campaign report. I don't see his name.
It was on my report.
I don't see his name on my campaign report.
It
So
was on my report.
I
But
mean,
I'll say this. I don't know, but I'll just say, I think that most certainly I have seen him go to bat for social issues, and I have seen him put his money where his mouth is.
well, I don't differ with you on, you know, you know, on that. But I see certain individuals as selective and following the Democrat protocol. That was since the governor did not appreciate me telling him I couldn't vote for the budget, and I believe that other Democrats follow suit. So
Yeah, I don't know that he'd be one of those Democrats, but most
I'm
certainly.
just saying. I'm just
No, I
saying.
feel you. I feel you. But let me say this also, going back to this issue with this. Was it a fundraiser, Mr. Floyd? Was he at the house for a fundraiser, or was he just stopping by to say hey?
Well, you know, uh, I don't believe that he stopped by just to have a cup of coffee. And any politician, when he or she stops, uh, stop to receive the hand of fellowship.
Okay. Speaking of the hand of fellowship, how are we treating our retirees in the state of North Carolina? When a person does their time, I saw recently a video that my mom had done, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I understand how my kids feel now. It is so cringy to see your parent on social media. However, our parents do have some valid points. And as I watched my mother on a live video recently, I think that she made a very valid point. Why is this not showing on my screen? Mr. Floyd, my mother was talking about the fact that people who have reached a certain age in their retirement should not have to pay property taxes anymore once their homes are paid for. And I think that there are a lot of people who have reached these ages of retirement who agree with this position, that once we have done our due diligence, we should no longer have to pay these property taxes, because we are, and when I say we, I'm speaking for this community, not myself, because I'm not there yet, but because they are on a fixed income. And when you are on a fixed income, it is very difficult to pay these increased rates. I can't bring this article up, so we're just going to have to talk about it. But there's an article. Before we get to this article, what are your thoughts about that, Mr. Floyd?
Well, Tish, if you're talking about in the state of North Carolina and the county of Cumberland, we base our government on its ability to collect taxes, and those taxes are there to fund services to the community. And local government don't want to give up any of those taxes.
Oh no, because
So
it was a fight just to get the military to not have to pay the same amount of
well,
property taxes for
they
forever.
are. I introduced a bill that would allow the military, not 100%, but 50, those that are 50%, uh, to receive a property tax deduction. Do you realize that it was $26 million that the state would provide back to the government after in September to offset that? There was a lot of opposition, and in fact, my colleague here in Fayetteville, it would have passed, but he objected to it, and that was Representative Sokol at that time. So, you know, we sort of look at that differently when we talk about that, not paying property tax. But if
No,
it
I
passed,
understand, because they're looking at it from a dollar perspective,
yeah,
and they're not looking at the humanity of it as
yeah,
politicians. Let me say this, Mr. Floyd. City government is being very creative in how they're looking to make up their budget deficit. I received a phone call yesterday, and let me say this before I even talk about what I'm getting ready to talk about. When we speak about our aging community, I need for everybody that can hear me, how the pastor say, if you are under the sound of my voice, I need you to take heed to what I'm getting ready to say. The way that we treat our aging community and the way that we treat children who cannot fend or defend for themselves says a lot about where we're going directionally as a community. So let you know what I just found out. Not only are so the article that I was trying to pull up says that Medicare cost rate increases are being pushed onto the retired personnel in the state of North Carolina. So this is happening. Medicare rates are going up. They're going to affect retirees in the state of North Carolina. I will post a link to that article. If you have a News and Observer account, you can go in and look at that. If you don't have an account, go to the library, get a library card, and you should be able to access various newspapers based upon your library card subscription through the internet with that library card. So here's what I want to tell you, Floyd. I just found out yesterday that you know how at the senior citizen centers, there are exercise classes that senior citizens can participate in for a nominal fee. Are you familiar with that?
No, I thought I thought that their equipment was there. It's free. I mean, free for use.
The equipment may be free, but there are also classes that you can take with an instructor. Most of these instructors are certified with certified instructors. That is a nominal fee. The city split on this nominal fee heretofore has been 80 to the exercise instructor, 20 to the city. Okay. So if you make $100 off your class, you got 10 people in your class, they all paying $10. 8 of those dollars are going into the class provider's pocket. 2 of those dollars are going into the city's pocket. What the city is proposing or has let these providers know is that moving forward, beginning in the next fiscal year, the split is now going to be 60-40, which means 60 is going to go into the exercise instructor's pocket, 40 is going to go into the city's coffers. You and I know, Floyd, this is a way of being able to make up lost revenue, right? Well,
Well,
what happens? What happens when you tell me I'm going to lose some of my money?
well, you know, you know, if I may say, see, the only person that don't do an evaluation of where they are is the Democrat Party. So I
But
would
this
have
is
to
not
do a relation.
but this
No,
is
I'm
not an
saying
evaluation of where they are.
now,
This is
see,
not an
if you
evaluation of
cut
where they
my
are. This
money,
is the
if
strategic
you limit my
repositioning.
money, if you limit my money, I got to reevaluate.
There
Okay,
you
that's
go.
what I'm saying. You limit my money, I got to do some reevaluation.
And what are some potential outcomes of that reevaluation, Mr. Floyd?
Well, if you cut my services down by a third, then I got to go elsewhere
Or
because
if I still want to make $8, I got to raise my rates. So
well,
either I'm going to leave or I'm going to raise my rates.
but
And
what good?
either way, that adversely affects our elderly community.
But what good is it to raise your rate? If you raise the rate, you pass it on to the senior, and the city then still collect a greater amount.
And the only person that's losing is the senior citizen because if the business owner raises their rate, they still getting their $8. The
Yes,
city's now getting this, the city's still getting their portion, and
yes.
now the senior citizen is paying more because they have to still, and that's janky because again, our senior
Right.
citizens are on a fixed income.
Teach what you had to look at. We talked about this before in the past. We talked about this. Yeah, I mean the unique language about how taxes are received. Okay, we just increase the service what fee. Okay, we don't raise the tax now. We don't do that, Teach. Yeah, the
But the
new
city
language
of
to
Fayetteville, who
raise.
is fighting, who on the council now is fighting for senior citizens? Because again, I go back to when we talked about the inception of these senior centers, this was Bill Crisp's idea because Bill Crisp was a senior citizen. And he was like, wait a minute, y'all not about to keep spending all this money on parks and rec services for these kids and forget about these elderly people who are the ones paying these taxes. So he ensured that the council paid attention to our senior citizens. Who is looking at the budget, looking at the nuances of the budget and saying, wait a minute, we are not getting ready to tax
Well,
our senior citizens like this?
Teach the budget is a budget is a very complex matter. You have to be able to encode and decode the information that's within the text of a budget.
Okay.
Okay, and
Okay.
if
So
you
I
don't
would
read
think,
it, if you don't read it, and I mean, if you don't dissect it, a lot of this stuff passes over you.
well, also when you continue to elect younger and younger people who are moving toward the inclusion of youthfulness, it does tend to exclude elderly people. And I think that as we look at the composition of our council, there may be 2 council members who are 65 or older, who understand the nuance of a fixed income or should understand the nuance of a fixed income. I know that DJ here is 65 or older. And I don't know for sure about the second person I'm thinking about, so I won't say their name because I don't want to provide inaccurate information. But I would expect that a DJ here would look at this, especially with as much history and institutional knowledge as he has. He should be able to decode the budget at this point. But he is also a little busy right now with this ethics complaint, so I can understand if the budget might not be top of mind for him.
What what Tish, it is, it is what it is. But one thing that I give about DJ, if you print something negative about him, he's gonna come back somewhere and find a source to print something positive.
What have
So
you heard?
yeah, he invalid Applewhite is good for that. Senator Applewhite is good for that. You
Okay,
know.
what have you heard?
Now we're talking about a some type grocery store that
He's
then
been
they
talking about that since we were both elected in 2017.
what I know, T, but you got to do that. Now we talk about again with the effort, and he's been working with the revitalization of Murchison Road. Tish, I love it. I love when we talk about the revitalization of Murchison Road. But what the public don't see, this effort is based upon a grant or grants, okay? Or grants. Now, I mean, when I was in the General Assembly, one thing that I saw was to include the appearance of Fayetteville State University, and that was bringing in money for the Howard Cheek building and also for the Wellness Center that's going to be built where Bryant Hall is, and jump all the way up to Shaw Heights was to get Shaw Heights as a donut hole is to allow the city future to grow economically when that area grows because it's between two exchanges, Bragg Boulevard and Murchison Road. Now, right across the street from the Amazon, there's a hotel being built, and
Hmm.
if it hold true, that may not be in the city, but the city will provide the services but collect no taxes.
Hmm.
So, you
Right.
know, I mean, hey, I admire a DJ for for something that he indicated that he may not have a relationship or may not understand is to fight back with something positive. That's normally a DJ approach to addressing these things.
Right. Well, Mr. Floyd, I will say that I just think that it is so. I think our elderly community, and listen, let me say this: elderly people are the people who are electing the people in our community. They are the highest demographic of voter in within the city limits of Fayetteville. We've talked about this a number of times. So I will say to my elderly community, you all need to understand that you are getting hosed in the most significant way in this community because they are building on your backs all of these fee increases that you really, if you are on a fixed income, you really
Teach
cannot
we
afford.
teach we as seniors, not Floyd now, as seniors, we are blind loyal to a D.
Well, it's gonna hit your pocket.
Okay, we are blind loyal to a D. If that person say that, although you don't raise my taxes, you know, it's just like doing when the county did the property tax reevaluation several years ago. There was about 2 to 4 areas that taxes remained the same or was increased. The majority of them, was decreased, but the taxes didn't decrease. The taxes remained the same. And you know what, Tish, we did? We elect the same people again. You getting the 4% tax increase from the city because they took the Avalon tax. You vote for the same people again because they have a D in front of the name. Now you're paying an increase in storm drainage is one of your projects,
And
and
you
we're
getting ready to
paying
pay an
4%.
increase in and going to your exercise class.
Yeah, you see. But only thing we want to know when we go to the poll, Tish, as an African American, is it a D in front of Tish Waddell name? That's all I need to know. I don't know whether or not she is delivering or hurting me or helping me. It's just the D that fascinates.
Yeah, so These retired employees in North Carolina who are going to see these Medicare premium increases, they're going to see a lot of other increases as we continue on because the increases are built, they're baked in on the back end where it doesn't have to be talked about out in the public. And so again, that is why Upzone exists. We exist to make understanding politics simple. We are here to let you know so that you can open your eyes and see where they are baking in these increases. So when you start noticing your money is not going as far, you can legitimately be able to see and understand why. And again, I'm not blaming the city council for making this decision because I don't know necessarily that this is something that's being discussed outright. I think it's just being put into the budget. And there's an expectation that because there's nobody who's decoding the budget as they're going through, it will be overlooked and this will just be an additional
What
revenue
what
generator.
Tish you got to teach? Let's be, you know, the city have lost revenue,
Hmm.
and now when we look at it, it may be another increase uh, in their budget expense if they have to cover the city schools after the sheriff no longer wish to provide services for, and I think there's 50 plus schools that are in the city
Which
that,
means that they're scrambling now. Like, how are we going to figure this out?
yeah, I mean, so that may be an increase, and there may be an increased cost for the city to do that. Now the formula is, I mean, the county took, as you know, took the money from the sheriff budget, and they may have placed it back into the county budget, or they may have transferred that over to the school system budget to allow them to look at how they want to address human resource officers. So they're going to have to be some type cost that the city may be associated, with that. So
But the silence is deafening, Mr. Floyd. The silence is deafening because this information affects so many parents and so many students in the city of Fayetteville and across Cumberland County. Yet we are receiving trickle down information. There was a meeting that was held a week ago, and we know nothing.
what Tish, I mean, the sheriff indicated that had to his was based on something. One,
I think the
he was,
sheriff has said his part. He said his part.
well, now the city, now right now it's up into the school system whether or not the county will transfer the money. One, it's it's the school system responsibility and lie with the school system responsibility of how they want to move forward with these human resource officers.
Have
Now,
you heard anybody from the school system come forward and say, we are aware that the community is extremely concerned about this issue regarding the SROs. We wish to assure you that we are actively
well,
and aggressively looking for solutions and that we will have something in place by the time your child goes back to school.
Tish, we're talking about common sense. Now, me, I'm saying common sense. Now, we're talking about a July 1 date, and we're talking about the day is June the 13th. So, common sense sets in and know that it's an immediate thing that we must address now, whether or not they go
Silence
private,
is deafening.
huh?
The silence is deafening. Nobody is saying anything to us other than what the news, the media is reporting. I need for our elected officials to talk to us.
Well, what the commission, I mean, the county board of commissioners have already spoken to you. They took the money from the sheriff, and somewhere the money is sitting somewhere.
I
Uh,
need
you
the school
know,
board to speak up. I need our police
Well,
department to.
school board, again, teach. We don't know whether the county put the money over into the school board, or will these eight officers, mean Hope Mill and Fayetteville and Spring Lake, will have to apply to the county or to the school board if they intend to provide the services like what you mentioned, or whether or not the school board is going to hire a private contractor to do to provide service. And now the formula is that at the state level, the state pays for high school human resource officers, and 50% of the junior, yeah, what you call it, ninth to the middle school is 50%, and then for the elementary school, the school board itself bears the responsibility. So you got a 150 and the school board provide that to the to the elementary school. So there's a decision that had to be made. Now, what Charlotte Mecklenburg community did, they passed some enabled legislation that they have a different source of officers providing services to the Charlotte Mecklenburg school system within a within a 1 mile radius of the school. So that may be something that the school system may look for in this coming General Assembly. But you got to look at who is going to carry it.
Well, I'm going to say one more time, the silence is deafening, because after this meeting, we haven't heard anything else. Nobody came out of this meeting and offered any explanations, any next steps. It's been a week.
Well,
Nobody said anything.
everybody, well, all the chiefs didn't stay for the full meeting too.
Well, the article said that Sonia Cooper and Mayor Bellflowers were not even permitted to come. So it was by invitation only, which I'm not even mad at. Because if you don't need to be in here, we don't need you to be in here. We don't need any looky-loos. And we don't need anybody that's going to come in and create a bunch of confusion and stir up dirt and dust. And I'm not saying that either of those two people would have. But I'm saying I think that if it was by invitation only, it was by invitation only. However, somebody that was invited needs to say something. Tell us something. Because the silence is deafening.
Well, it's already been said, T. But I mean, I understand what you're saying, but the I think it was $3 or $2.2 million that's there.
Right.
Again, how is this money is to be passed along? Let it go back to the Board of Education for the Board of Education to select, or the county. And I don't think the county itself, given how they did the Airborne Museum, wants to take on that responsibility of advocating the money to the various police, law enforcement agencies to administer the human resource officers. I don't think they want to do that. But now, right, I do give the county credit during this budgetary process that they did increase their per diem from $50 to $100. They were able to do that.
Yeah, I think Lexi Solomon said it perfectly in her article in City View today. The headline said, I want to read it. I want to quote it correctly. It says, officials mum on invitation only Cumberland County Sheriff's meeting on school resource officers. So I just want to say again, and I don't want to belabor the point, but the silence is deafening. Now, Mr. Floyd, you did raise the issue around the you just said it. What is it you just said?
Which one was it? Charlotte Mecklenburg?
Nope. We were. It was another topic in terms of. So we talked about the sheriff's meeting.
That was the Airborne Museum.
That's it. So with this Airborne Museum, now I just said, and I know this is gonna sound like a contradiction. I just said the silence is deafening, but baby, that statement was loud and clear, wasn't it, when it came to the Airborne Museum? Because this is what I heard.
I wouldn't have said this, I wouldn't.
That's what I'm saying. I would have let some silence happen right there.
I would not.
Sometimes it's good to be quiet.
I would not.
Listen, I'm a product of the military. Both of my parents are retired military. I lose a great deal of respect for any agency that does not support our men and women in our armed forces. And I will tell you that was a blow that won't soon be softened. And I recognize that there was some conversation about legitimately who can get funding based upon ARPA dollars. But then you just say that and keep all your commentary about how you feel about this organization and who's going to support it. Keep all that to yourself, because that was an unnecessary statement, and it was a mark and a blemish that won't soon go away. Those of us who are military affiliated, we don't take kindly to that.
Well, let's look at it from a fact of the military in the state of North Carolina is the third engine driver of our economy. Okay, the third now. Now, when you look at Cumberland County, it's provide $1.2 billion worth of capital improvement and a $66 million worth of revenue that's coming into Cumberland County. You got a population of about 45 to 55,000 military personnel, and you got about 7,000 plus retirees. There's no way in the world that I would have made that statement.
Because you can't make it without them. This city dies without the military, baby. It just shrivels up. Because there's no other industry that can carry it like this. Because the government, that's a major employer. The government, the hospital, that's a major employer. And then Goodyear, that's a major employer. But the major factor is the military. And Mr. Floyd, let me say this because I think that often there's a gap. Because man, Mr. Floyd, the Arts Council got some money.
Well, see, what you got to look at the art council also get the hotel occupancy tax, which is about a million plus a year. But their budget was this year was decreased from 60,000 to 35,000. They already getting money. They already getting money. And so, but you was able to provide $35,000 to the art council and zero to the airborne museum.
Well, Airborne Museum, Special Operations, if y'all need us to start a GoFundMe, you let us know. Because we rock with you. The Up Zone rocks with you.
It's crazy. I mean, this is something that even if you think it or you can't, you don't make statements like that against your military personnel.
Yeah, I'd rather hear your position on this SRO situation. Yeah.
In fact, you want to be a military-friendly community. You don't make those kind of statements.
But you know, Mr. Floyd, way before I ever even ran for office, I noticed this tension between the federal government and the local and county government. There was just this rift, and it's not often talked about, but it's like the government is fighting against the military, like our local government is fighting against the presence of the military. Like it's almost like a resentment.
Well, Tish, let me tell you, with that kind of money that it brings in, I have time. I'm open 24/7.
But you know what? Let me tell you why politicians, because again, this is about making politics make sense, making understanding simple. The reason that many politicians don't play to the military or don't have special consideration for the military is because a lot of military personnel vote at their home of record, which means if you're stationed here at Fort Bragg, aka Fort Liberty, but you're from California, you still vote in California, which in my estimation was always the original intention of the absentee ballot. So that's why if you can't remember politicians, you always say this, politicians are excellent mathematicians. So if you can't vote for me, I don't have to play to you.
Well, Teach, may I ask you another question then?
Absolutely.
Since you're military connected, have you ever heard of such thing as off limits?
Absolutely.
And so suppose Fort Bragg, hypothetically, to say, and Fort Bragg is building their own community as it relates to service towards their military.
They already have said it, Mr. Floyd. It's already an unspoken.
Okay.
They are pushing people toward Moore County. They're pushing people toward Pinehurst. Like people are not coming into the people in Cumberland County are them officers. They are not in Cumberland County. They're not living, working, and playing in Cumberland County. They go to work on the base, and then they go home in Pinehurst.
But Tish, my daughter was in the facility over in Pinehurst, and I was coming back. I think it was maybe about between 4 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm coming to Fayetteville.
And you seeing all this traffic going the other way.
All this traffic going. I'm talking about traffic now. And this was, I think, it was 609.
Yeah.
Very narrow. I mean, you got to be one.
They trying to get out of Fayetteville. They are going home, but they're going to where they're appreciated and respected, and to where their dollars are making more sense. Because we're not doing it here. I tell everybody, and I'm gonna say it here. I say this privately. I'm gonna say it publicly. I know y'all think that because all of these shiny ideas are popping up in the city of Fayetteville and Cumberland County, it means we're doing well. This is a dying community. Fayetteville is a dying community. We do not have good leadership. And the old people used to say the fish rots from the head. because our head is rotten. Watch the rest of the body rot out. And that's just all I'm gonna say about that. Mr. Floyd, I think it was one more point we wanted to talk about, and that was the PFAS contamination. And I want to make a comment because we last week we talked about the Teflon, not the Teflon, we talked about the titanium plant.
Hmm.
And I made the comment about how supply demand facilitates supply, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
how because we are in demand of these products, they have to create facilities to build these products. There's an article that came out to talk about PFAS, and it was accompanied by a short video presentation that talked about these people out in Grays Creek who are suing because of these contaminants. And it reinforced what I was saying last week. And I just want to say it again. If we want to eliminate and eradicate contaminants, we've got to change how we consume. We have to change our consumerism because we are the reason that these products are being produced. We wanted the non-stick pots and pans. Yeah, we didn't know that this stuff was being dumped, but we need to start assuming that big business does not give a flip-flop about our health. They are concerned about profitability. And if there's a loophole that can protect them from a lawsuit and they have relationships that can protect them from losing their profitability, they're going to keep making stuff as long as we're going to keep buying it, regardless of what the effect on the environment is.
Well, Tish,
And we just have to be smarter.
I mean, EPA has given this country 5 years to retrofit their water system in order to address the PFAS that within their system. I think PwC said to us that it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $26 million in order to address it. But you got to look at PwC as being one water supplier and look at the other hundreds across this country. And there's a limited amount of businesses that make the material in order.
Exactly.
So it's going to drive up the cost in order to retrofit this system to address it. So, but when we look at that, we have this titanium plant, which is one. They stay approximately 1 mile from our water system, which is Cape Fear River.
Hmm.
When we look at the Hawthorne, there's a Hawthorne plant that's right by Pete, well, the Texafy plant right next door to our main water supply, which is I think
Hmm.
it's a Hawthorne plant. You know, so as we make these investments, we also got to look at how it's going to affect us, going forward. So, uh, you know, there is some concerns that we need to look at.
Absolutely. Mr. Floyd, I really enjoy doing this podcast with you. I know I tell you that every week, but I do.
Mhm. Well, Teach, I do thank you. And yesterday, I had the opportunity to be with George Brees and
I was just getting ready to ask you to update us on what's going on with you at WIDU.
yeah, and it was George Brees and Wade Fowler and Doswell, which managed Adam Rogers law firm. We talked about the upcoming election and how it would look in November the 5th of
Hmm.
2024 as it relates to the upcoming election. So it was a real good,
A good conversation.
good
Okay,
conversation.
well, how's it going at WIDU, Mr. Clark? Because you do two programs. You do this program, and then you have a program with Mr. Troy Williams, who, by the way, I saw yesterday driving past my neighborhood. I was like, look, there goes Troy.
Huh?
But how's everything going? What y'all got going on coming up?
Well, we're talking about different issues as it relates to politics, but the thing, the thing that really had a greater impact on me in the last program that we did was South Carolina was redrawing their districts, and South Carolina is legislation is Republican, and there
Hmm.
was some concerns about Jim Clyburn, as a very powerful person in Washington, and they said that we had to draw the district in order to protect Jim Clyburn. Now, remind you now, Jim Clyburn is what? A Democrat.
Right.
See, but they want that naive to understand that Jim Clyburn has an opportunity to help them grow.
That's right.
Okay.
Look, protect your people.
You,
Protect your people.
you
Mr.
see,
Floyd, what you want to leave our audience with today?
as you look forward, and we talk about here education, and we talk about it on other programs, is to always look and read about the person that you are going to vote for in the upcoming election. Tisha, I always said to you, if he or she is not going to be a personnel of Amazon, UPS, and the United States Postal System or Federal Express, you need to do some evaluation. If they can't get your package there in a timely manner,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. If they can't
Yeah.
deliver, you need to wait.
Yeah.
Get you
And,
another
and you
source
are right.
for delivery. That, that,
You
that,
are right.
that's all I want to say is that look at all the candidates and see who can best bring back resources to your district. That's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And I just want to again speak to my elders and say that I just want to say I'm sorry that we are not taking more seriously taking care of you guys. I was impacted by what my mother said in that video when she said that, you know, seniors are on a fixed income and when their property taxes are still in effect and they're increasing, that adversely affects them. That compounded with the article that I read about Medicare, the increases in Medicare for retirees. And then on top of that, to find out that our senior citizens are potentially either getting ready to lose their fitness instructors or have to pay more for their fitness instructors to make up for budget deficits. It just becomes a very glaring picture that our seniors are being resourced beyond their resources. And I just hope that our elected officials will ask the city manager to review that budget line item and have a conversation about what some alternatives may be. You know, those of us who are, I'm still of, I know you laughing, but I'm serious, Mr. Floyd, because you know they watch our podcast. Because this is the thing, those of us who are still of the age where we can go out and work two jobs if we need to, put that on our backs. Don't put that on my mama's back. Don't put that on my neighbor, Miss Sylvia's back. Don't put that on my mother's friend. You know, don't put that on their backs. Don't put that on my father's back or my friend Keith's back who lives in University Estates. Don't put that on these people's back who have, don't put that on Elmer Floyd's back. These are people who have worked for decades to provide a life for their families, for themselves, and to build this community. They should not have to still be resourced beyond their resources. It's not right, it's not fair, and it's not okay. And Mr. Floyd, I know you laughing because these elected officials are probably not going to do as I'm requesting. Is that why you laughing?
I'm just laughing at, remember what we always joke about, not taxes, but fees.
Fees. But
Okay.
reconsider this fee. Reconsider this split. Reconsider. Because I tell you what, if you do right by these elderly people, God may open another door of provision. But if you screw over our communities of vulnerability, it ain't gonna go well for this city. It's not gonna go well. And Mr. Floyd, as a final note, let me say one more thing. There's also some concern about daycare because the money for daycare has been expended. All that extra ARPA funding money, it's been expended. So now they've got to figure that out in the state of North
We've
Carolina.
all teach the Chamber of Commerce as you exit. The Chamber of Commerce have already asked the General Assembly to provide additional funding. And the Chamber of Commerce is going to get that additional funding.
Well,
It's
amen.
just
Praise
like
the Lord.
it's just like the Opportune Scholarship. They wanted 300 million. They got 460. So
Yeah.
that only gonna leave maybe $300 million to scramble the eggs to go across the state. So your
Yeah.
child care is going to be addressed. I know my party has some opposition towards that, but it's going to be addressed. So
Yeah.
you and Larry can go fishing on that. It'll be
Yeah.
good.
Well, I know we talked. I think I closed last week's program with this. I'll close it again. The word says, "Whatsoever you do unto the least of these, you've done unto me," and that was Jesus speaking to the people. So y'all just remember, y'all treat people better, and have a fantastic week. And it's always a pleasure, and always a learning experience. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Y'all make sure that you tune in next week on the Up Zone, where we make understanding politics simple. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend, like, share, subscribe, and follow, and we'll catch you next week. And there's not going to be an outro because